Hello, and welcome to another episode. Today, we're going to be talking about how to be in the frequency of manifesting your soulmate. So, if you're new to manifesting or you just haven't figured out exactly how to do it, or what does frequency and what is vibration and how does that help me get what I want, you're going to love this. Stay tuned.
Hey, my name is Michelle Chung, and I'm a live manifestation expert, which means I help women manifest their soulmate live in person, offline. And I help career-driven, A-type alpha women find their man so they can have the amazing, committed, and effortless relationship they deserve.
Back when I was single and before I started my coaching business, a friend recommended that I read this book. It was called Letting Go by Dr. David R. Hawkins. And I quote this a lot in my trainings and in my program. And it's been so important to me. It was such a turning point in understanding how to actually master vibrations, your emotions, how to, let go of things that don't serve you, that actually lower your vibrations. So in simply just letting go, like the whole premise of the book is simply just letting go of those lower vibrations naturally has you come back to homeostasis or the perfect health. And that's another reason why I don't believe in healing or that we need to fix ourselves in our health or in other areas. This is a big topic for another episode, but it's basically like letting go of emotions helps you actually just come back to your natural state, which is wellness. And we're not meant to be, creatures that need to be fixed. We're actually designed to be healthy and whole, and that goes with our emotions and with our relationships and our health and everything as well. So when I started reading this book, I love audiobooks and podcasts. So I downloaded the book and I brought it to the beach and I do a daily run and I had my headphones in and I was running while I was listening to this book and slowly just started walking. I just couldn't even run. And then I just stopped. Like there were moments when I was listening to this book and I just stopped altogether. Just my mind was trying to grapple these concepts. And it was difficult to do two things at once, even though they say being a woman, you can multitask. I absolutely believe in focusing on one thing at a time. Maybe that's the masculine in me, but I just was listening to this book and I was just so blown away. And that's why I recommend it to so many people I work with. And I quote it so much. And what I really got from this book was like just trying to understand what is vibration, what is energy, and these are not like woo woo concepts. These are not like esoteric and mystical things. That these are actually very much founded in science, and I believe that's what quantum physics is. This is an area of study I would love to learn a lot more about quantum physics because it's very related to the work I do and my passion. So, on my to-do list, learn about quantum physics. And so also what I learned was, learning from my life coach who I hired when I was single to get my life together, to get my business together, find a place to live, and sort out my love life. And this life coach, she was a Jose de Silva mindset meditation trainer. And she was also teaching things like about the 7 levels of awareness, 7 levels of consciousness. And someone else I met, sent me a YouTube video about spiral dynamics theory and how humans are classified into different levels of consciousness and awareness, and from basic survival mindset to a more enlightened mindset, like you would see with, holy leaders, Jesus, Buddha, that kind of stuff. We're all on different levels of vibration, emotionally, physically, spiritually, right? So this is kind of like what we're talking about here. These concepts about and levels of energy and vibration, and how you can actually master this and not just be at the effect of this. So another book I quote sometimes is Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil. It's kind of like the second book of Think and Grow Rich. It was like kind of like the sequel to that, but it was hidden for such a long time because it had such radical concepts about religion in those times that wasn't allowed. It was very taboo. So that book talks about the concept of drifting and how it was the devil made you drift. So in this way, it relates to having a purpose, having having on purpose and being on purpose, not being at the whim and mercy of drifting with, like people say, going with the flow. And it can be misconstrued in a negative way of not having a direction and not having following your purpose, which is what you're meant to be doing in this lifetime on this earth. And so just drifting with that becomes kind of like the work of the devil, so to speak. So, okay, so coming back to vibrations and levels, frequency levels, it's how to master your own energy level to get what you want in life, and that if you're not getting what you want, it's because you're not vibrating at the level that attracts that with which you want. So like energies attract like energies. It's a scientific concept. I'm not going to argue with that. I'm not an expert. I'm not a scientist here, but it's basically like those like energies, atoms attracting this kind of stuff, right? Stuff you learned in high school in science class. So these are, scientific concepts, and we accept them because that's just the law. So when you're not getting what you want, it's because you're not vibrating at a similar level to attract that. So what exactly does that mean? So I'm going to break that down for you in this episode. And this is pretty much what I'm teaching in my program, Manifest Love, and how to raise your frequency so that you can be in the vibration to attract your soulmate. So in that book, Letting Go, David Hawkins, Mr. Hawkins, talks about the different levels of vibration. And this fascinated me so much. It's literally in, I think, the 3rd chapter of the book. It's very early in the book. He talks about it, and I talk about this in my program as well. And these levels of vibration have been scientifically recorded, and there's like a standard which have been, I guess, tested, and has become universally accepted that are vibrating from a frequency level of 0, which is death, pretty much. If you're vibrating at 0, you're pretty much dead. And the highest level is 1,000, which they say is the vibration of Jesus, Buddha, other holy leaders. They've managed to transcend that level of earthly vibration, the 3D universe, to that level of 1,000, which is pretty high. So, and you'll see why when I go through all the different levels and the numbers they have. So if we separate religion from spirituality, and again from science and the universal laws or quantum physics, that we can actually say that all these things are pretty much the same things. Every religion is pretty much saying the same thing. Every scientist is studying different parts of the similar same kind of things. So in the past, religion was used as a kind of government to help us live law-abiding lives and have this general code of conduct so we don't go around killing people like animals. But now we have legislation and governments, and that helps us in that way. But we don't really have much grasp on how to not manipulate, but how to use manifestation and laws of energy to our advantage, how to do this practically. And if you've listened to my podcast, you would have heard an episode that I talk about manifestations like prayer. And I break it down how that actually works. Like, most people in the past would kneel by the bed, you'd have a wish, and then you'd pray for it, and you'd ask God for what you wanted. And, most of the time you pray from a feeling of, I don't have that, so I really want that. And as I go through all the levels of vibration with you today, I'm going to show you why that old method of prayer doesn't work, and why manifestation is kind of like the new trendy catchphrase, although it's been around for it's been around like forever. Basically, it's just there. It's, even if you don't believe in manifestation, do you believe in gravity? You don't have to agree with it just to utilize it and use it to your advantage. So this is what we're doing. We're just utilizing what is there to our advantage. So how does this work practically? And Hawkins says that you can have these levels of vibration, and what makes it easier is he's actually labeled it with emotion. So I'm going to go through them one by one, and so you can know what vibration level you're currently at. And we change all throughout the day. We're going up and down. We're going in different levels of vibration. So we're not always consistently one emotion, are we? And it's not realistic to be always consistently one way, right? But a good way to check your vibration level is to check in with yourself honestly and ask yourself how you're feeling. And that's why emotions and feeling has become so important in this use of manifesting and using universal laws, because they're actually connected to those vibration levels that are so important. Okay. So if we start from the very bottom, we talked about 0 being death. So just above death is shame and vibrating at the level of 20. And that relates to humiliation, self-destruction. You have this feeling that something's wrong with you. It's what they used to do as a punishment in the past to banish somebody from their community. It was like the worst, almost worse than death back in those days, because you don't have the protection and the group to help you out. So banishment was like quite a big punishment back in those days, wasn't it? And you're also in this framework, this of cruelty to yourself and others when you're in this shame kind of feeling. Okay. So the one above that is guilt. So shame and guilt, a lot of people often confuse the two. What is the difference? Well, basically, shame is this feeling that something's wrong with you, whereas guilt is this feeling of you've done something wrong. Okay. And it's also in that realm of punishment, self-rejection, masochism, feeling remorse, feeling bad. Oh, I feel bad about something, feel bad about that. You've made me feel bad. Self-sabotage can be in this level of being suicidal. Accident prone, because when you're feeling in this way, you tend to attract those things happening to you, attracting people being mean to you, yelling at you. They can tap in on that energy and they can feel that and feel that you are inviting that somehow, so they will give it. And it's also the basis of psychosomatic illnesses. Very interesting, right? Okay, there's a lot more. Hold on to your hats, hold on to your seats. Okay, next one up, apathy. This is vibrating at level 50. This is the feeling of hopelessness, playing dead, how animals play dead, but they do that more for a survival mechanism. When you're drawing into others, no, I must have written that wrong. This mindset of like, no, I can't do that. Oh, I can't do this. I can't, it's not possible. And you're very much in a poverty mindset. So this is where poverty, and this is where that spiral dynamics theory comes in, because if you're always vibrating at the level of 50 of apathy, you tend to be in a more financially less well-off situation, because it's attracting those like energies, right? Okay, next one is grief, vibrating at the level of 75. And this relates to feeling helpless, despair, feeling of loss, regretting things, feeling mournful, depression, and sadness. Okay, I think that's pretty straightforward. That grieving period. So when we, grieve the loss of somebody, we come down to this level temporarily. And if you don't check yourself and give yourself a time period for grieving, and that's why sometimes they say, just make sure if you do process grief, that you don't ignore it, that you do go through it, but give yourself a time frame, give yourself a time limit, so you can make sure to pull yourself out of this and not live in grief forever, because that is often a downward spiral, and go back down to apathy, guilt, shame, and then, potentially loss of life. So we want to make sure we check that in and give it an expiry date. Okay, so fear is level 100, and a lot of people say they fear things, they're scared of something, they're fearful of doing this, fear of failure, fear of success, many different fears that people talk about, but actually there's only two real fears in the world, and it's actually fear of loud noises and fear of falling. And these are two amygdala responses, which is like the lizard brain, which is the part of your brain that helps you be in survival mode, right? But now that we've progressed and we're people who live in a society that is much more advanced, we don't have to fight for food and shelter. Those two are actually only the real fears. And the other fears are all more, I guess, psychosomatic or in our emotional way. Okay. And that leads to, that is explained around danger, avoidant, defensive. You're always worried about your security and safety, always, worried someone's going to attack you, fearful of those kind of things. Someone who might be possessive or jealous, they're really insecure about, losing somebody. A restless feeling, because you don't have trust and faith that the universe will bring you what you want. And also this anxiety, so fearing that, oh, that thing that I want is never going to come, constantly ruminating and worrying about that, right? And constantly being vigilant that you have to like stay on guard, and that also activates that fight flight response, right? Always being like, oh, I need to be aware, I need to fight for this, I need to be competitive, I need to like, get my boundaries, I need to get my territory. So that all comes from this level of fear. Okay. Next level up is desire. This is 125 vibration level, and that's someone who's seeking to gain. But that also signals to the universe that you don't have it. There's a really interesting thing when I first looked at this levels of vibration, because we always talk about like, ask for what you desire. What do you want? But desire in this way, I guess, is kind of comes from this biblical meaning of desire. Acquiring something, and you need to be satisfied with something outside of yourself. That's what this desire relates to. And desiring, in the Bible times, someone else's wife, someone else's life, someone else's cattle or property, right? This is satisfaction outside yourself. And when you're craving and then you're never satisfied, so that's become this very unsettled way of being, and always wanting something that seems out of your reach, and you're always kind of reaching for something, and that's not exactly healthy, and that's what they're saying here. Next one up is anger, and anger vibrates at 150. This is where you're overcoming fear by force. You're irritable, explosive, bitter, volatile, resentful, and this desire just to get even. That's that revengeful and vengefulness, right? And it's interesting because even though anger might seem like a negative emotion, it is actually better than, say, shame or apathy, right? Because it is a higher level of vibration, indicates more movement as well. When you're closer to death, that's like lack of movement, stagnation. But when you're a bit higher on the vibration levels, then you actually have some more, energy and ability to move and make changes and make decisions, right? So anger in compared to these other emotions is better because it's higher in vibration levels. And it also means that you have the ability for action. So who takes more action? Someone who is apathetic, who's kind of like, doesn't want to get out of bed, feels like there's nothing they can do. There's like, just give up kind of attitude. Or somebody who's angry, who's like, oh my gosh, I've got to do something. I've got to fix this. I've got to, which one has more movement? And that's what we're saying. This faster, higher vibration is more enabled to make changes in your life. Okay. Then, next one at 175 is pride. And this is an interesting one because we use pride these days in a different way, don't we? We use it as in like, pride, LGBTQ movement. Maybe this is just a label. Maybe this doesn't completely relate to this vibration level. But the way pride was seen in, I guess, religious biblical times is like, oh, my way is best. Superior. I'm perfectionist. I'm special because I'm this particular way, and wanting to be recognized, and you focus a lot on achievement, right? And this comes from that way of like, I'm prideful that, my way is right. And that can also be endangering because that leads to like, my way of the highway kind of mentality. Okay. So then we get to level 200, and this is the level of courage. This is actually some people call the line of courage. My life coach used to call it the line of courage in her 7 levels of awareness. And this is that, one level up above, a couple levels up above anger, where you're really motivated to do something, but you come from more a positive vibration level. This is the level that is, enables you to take productive, effective action, that you're feeling self-empowered, that you're independent, you're excited about life, basically, and you have this can-do attitude, and you're determined that you can do, and that you can accomplish it, you can achieve it, you can make those changes. So level of courage is really important. So check in with yourself whenever you're feeling like, I really, want this, is that desire, or like you have this attitude of like, yes, I'm excited, I can do this, and this bad thing that happened to me is not a bad thing. I can see it in a different way now, that I can see it, that, oh, this is an opportunity, and that's coming from that level of courage. So check in with yourself. Are you vibrating below the levels of courage? The Starting with shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride. Are you any of these emotions? Check in with your body, check in with your feelings. Are you any of these emotions? And that's vibrating below the level of courage. And that is not the best way to manifest or get the things that you want, get the job that you want, get the clients that you want. Being in this vibration level is not conducive to anything positive because they're below the line of courage. Hopefully this is making sense, okay? Then above the line of courage, we have neutrality, and that's at 250, where you're comfortable, you're unattached, you're pragmatic, you're non-judgmental, and you're non-competitive. And it's just a really neutral way of living. It's not a bad place to be, actually. And next one, we have willingness, that vibrates at 310. This is having a positive attitude, you're welcoming, you're friendly, you're helpful, and you seek to serve other people because you've kind of gotten your own crap out of the way. You're not vibrating at those lower vibrations. Next is acceptance, which is 350. This is someone who is very easygoing, laid back, harmonious, flexible, inclusive, and you're free of that inner resistance because you've kind of like done with that and you've let go of that. You're connected and you don't blame others for your for things in your life, or you don't blame life itself. You've accepted the responsibilities, and you take that on wholeheartedly. Cool. Next level is reason at 400. And this is what actually makes humans different from animals, because we can, at this stage of vibration, we can see abstract things. We can understand concepts that are not tangible. We can see them in our mind. We can understand them. We can download problems and answers from the universe and from other people in this collective consciousness. And we're objective. We make rapid, correct decisions because you are actually in touch with the intuition. You can download that guidance from your angels or your guides or God, higher power, universe. And you're in this problem-solving mode because you've gotten all your own crap out of the way, as I said. And this is actually where, you have to be if you're a scientist, a philosopher, you're in medicine, or you use logical thinking. You need to be in this vibration level because it is the way you actually learn and get the information that you need. And that's unobstructed and unfiltered and untainted information. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Next, okay, this is where we want to be. This is where we want to be. This is level 500, vibrating level 500. It's love, the emotion of love. And this is someone who's forgiving, nurturing, supportive, and doesn't come from your mind. Love doesn't come from your mind, but love comes from your heart. And you focus on the essence of the situation. You're not hung up on the details. You have a very holistic vision, and the love is vibrating and it's all throughout. And I remember, growing up and in my Asian family and being very detached from our emotions and not wanting to show that, or we only show like the lower vibrations of like anger and, impatience and things like that. This I used to see and, demonstrated, or them trying to demonstrate in TV shows like American sitcoms and stuff. And we'd be like, does that family exist? Like the parents are really loving and, they're really kind to the kids. They don't yell at them. They try to teach them lessons. Like, what is that? Is that real? was really interesting. But I guess that's what those TV shows are trying to, demonstrate a family that's loving and caring and genuine. And even though it might have been cheesy and kind of like weird for us, but I guess it's trying to teach us, this kind of stuff, perhaps. Okay, last two. So second last one, or maybe we say the second one is joy. Joy vibrates at 540, and this is where unconditional love, despite the circumstances, the physical reality of what's happening, but there's just a deep unconditional love, and that's where this vibration comes from. And you see exquisite beauty in the world. You can understand that creation is perfect already. There is nothing to fix, nothing. There's nothing wrong. It's just everyone's just in their own journey, and everyone's just moving along at their own pace and at their own purpose. And it's someone who's become very close to the oneness of it all and having compassion for all and a huge amount of patience. I know that I don't always have a lot of patience. I'm a lot better now. And it's just growing to this level of vibration where you sense a self-completion and self-sufficiency, and you've moved along in your journey. And you may not always stay here, but to know that you've done it once, feeling this joy, you can do it again. And it's just a matter of willing it and being it, embodying it. And it's not something to do, but it's just something to be. And that's just what people say when they say you need to be that version of yourself that attracts your soulmate. And that's these levels here, the love, joy, and the last one, the highest one, is peace. Peace is vibrating at 600, and it's just perfection. It's bliss. It's effortlessness. Well, I love effortlessness, being a very high achiever myself, always pushing things uphill, pushing things really hard. This idea of effortlessness is like, wow, it's like a sigh of relief, and it's just a big letting go of all the energy tensed up in your body, because that hey, universe has got your back. You can just let go and things will happen, and trust that. Okay, there's a oneness and what they call enlightenment, this illumination, and this is one of the most rare vibrations in humans because it is a very high vibration. And the fact that we're a lot of the time in those lower vibrations means that we cannot be in those higher vibrations. We cannot be both at the same time. It's either one or the other. It's the law of sacrifice. The law of sacrifice. We have to let go of something of lower value in order to attain something of higher value. And that's what this whole letting go process is. Letting go of those lower vibrations so that you can be in those higher vibrations. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and it's starting to make sense a little bit more about how you can use your emotions to be on the same level of vibration to manifest your partner, your soulmate. Well, you can manifest anything you want at this level, right? And it comes to you effortlessly, okay? So if you're interested about learning more, make sure you check out my free webinar training. I'll put the link in the show notes below. Go check that out. And if you're interested in my program, I give a very special offer in the webinar. Go check that out. And if you have any questions, make sure you contact me, send me a direct message on Instagram at Michelle Chung Coach. And look forward to hanging out with you again in the next episode. See you later.